All right, I'm back with another video here in my garage, and this is a continuation of working on this burnt Ferrari 360 engine. And as you can see now, I actually have it transferred over from that little portable lift that I had, and I've got it on the engine stand now. So, because I need to be able to rotate it so I can get to the bottom of the engine and remove that, so I can start taking some of the internal parts out and see if I can get this engine stripped down to the bare block. So here's the engine stand. So the first thing I did was when I moved it over, actually water started gushing out, and it was actually coming out from everywhere. And I've cleaned it all up since then. I've scrubbed the floor down and everything, but you can actually still see I missed some. Look at that. That's still full of oil and water there. It's mostly water, but I'll soak that out with a rag or something later. But yeah, it was a complete mess, and it was just barely tilting over. So yeah, definitely a lot of water inside the engine block. And then what I did was I went ahead and once I got it on the stand here, got it level, and then I just removed that plug right there and let it completely drain out. And there was just a ton of water and oil coming out of there, mostly water though, of the block. So now that that's fully drained, I actually took the block, rotated it up. I had, try to catch as much water. It was just coming out of, tilted this way here, and a lot of it was coming out of the cylinders and stuff like that. So it definitely had a lot of water still in the, down inside in the block where the, inside these water jackets and stuff like that. But I tried to put something down to catch as much as I could, and then once that drained out there, then I rotated it back up to this position here, so I can start filming and show you what I've done to the top. So the first thing I did was went ahead and cleaned these cylinders out right here on this side, and then once I got those cleaned out, sprayed penetrating fluid around the cylinders and let that soak for a whole day. And then what I did was I came over here. Once I felt that was soaked good enough, then I came over to the front, and then I put a 36 millimeter socket on the front with a breaker bar on there, and then just slowly started working it back and forth. And then it started, moving a little bit, but it was kind of jamming up. And then I just had to keep spraying penetrating fluid on the cylinders and keep working it. And then I just had to give it a little bit of a tap on that breaker bar with a rubber mallet, just being very careful because I didn't want to damage, damaging the rings in the cylinders, or even damaging the rod bearings in the rods themselves. So I definitely didn't want to tear those up if I didn't have to. But anyway, after kept working it for about 10 minutes, it finally broke loose, and then now it was rotating, and actually it rotates really nicely. The only problem is it started pumping oil out and water out of this line right here. It started just pouring out the back here, and it was making a huge mess. So I had to stop rotating it. But if you remember last time, these two cylinders were actually all the way up, and now you can see they're completely down, and these two are up here. So now it spins over really nice. So the engine's completely freed up, and I was going to pour some oil and stuff down in the cylinders, and then but I'm going to go ahead and flip it over the engine, so I didn't want the oil all running out everywhere. And then like I said, once I get it disassembled, I'll go ahead and coat some oil inside those liners and stuff to keep them nice and lubricated so they won't rust up. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to pull this pin back here. I'm going to rotate this engine. We'll get the bottom side up, and then I'll be back. All right, so I got the engine completely flipped over, and yeah, there was a bunch of oil and water pouring out. I cleaned it up, but it's still going to keep dripping out, but that's okay. That's why I have epoxy floor, so I can just wipe it up. But here's the bottom, as you can see here, and it kind of looks like, I don't know if this has got, drug or something. I don't know. This looks like it's been dragging on something, or something hit it. Maybe the forklift or something when they was picking this up. I don't know. Same thing right here, but it's nothing bad. Just need to probably replace this right here, but not a big deal. But I don't see any cracks or anything in it. Nothing really abnormal. Yeah, here's something in the back too. Looks like something kind of caught onto there, but it's not a big deal. Okay. And let's look over here. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to go ahead and remove this whole bottom section right here. Looks like just a bunch of 13 millimeter fasteners. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and remove those, and then yeah, remove those, and I think we'll be good to go as far as trying to get it off. It shouldn't be too bad. I'll just get a rubber mallet and just tap it around it, and then it should pop off. Hopefully, fingers crossed. All right, I'll be back. Okay, so I got the bottom part of the engine off, or if you want to call it a sump pan. And then, yeah, it was super easy to get off. All the fasteners, which I expected them to be already loose, were. So I just removed those, took the washers off, and it just slid right off. No issues at all. So that was pretty good. I was kind of worried that it might be warped, but it seems to be pretty good. But there is some melted debris in here, but it should clean up really nice. Okay, and then the engine. This is what it looks like here, and it got roasted inside of here. I honestly didn't think it was going to be this much damaged on the inside of the engine. I thought that was going to look a lot better than this, but it's still not bad. At least, you know, like I said, from turning it over, I know the oil pump is still working pretty good. I'm just hoping it didn't suck any debris up inside there. But I'll have to tear that down. I'll go through that oil pump assembly, but the winges tray is definitely, it's melted pretty good, and then the screens for the old pickups are just destroyed. So that's, wow, that was a tremendous amount of heat. And you can see, like I said, the back part of the engine here is where a lot of the heat was, but as it goes forward, you can see it kind of diminishes a little bit. I mean, it was still super hot, but yeah, look at the back part. That's probably why the heads were so warped in the back, like I was saying earlier in my other video. But it's not an issue. This is very, you know, actually I already ordered a replacement, so it's already on its way. And then I just got to find these screens here. That's going to be another, something else I need to try and find. Usually it's, you know, they're selling the whole assembly, but we'll see what we can do. I'm sure we can find something somewhere. The next issue is going to be trying to get this winges tray off, because once I start disassembling this, is the fasteners, they're melted over. You can probably see, like right here, there's a fastener there, but it's melted over. Same thing right here. You can't get to the fasteners because they're melted. See, it's under there too. So I'm going to have to kind of chip away at that, and then try to get that out of there. Maybe I might have to cut it or something, but we'll see. Maybe I can get the bolts exposed. If not, I'll just have to chip away at it. But it shouldn't be too hard. So that's what I'm going to do now. Is I'll probably let me see. I'll probably go ahead and start with this pipe right here. I need to remove this anyway. It's probably going to have some oil in it when I take it off, but I need to get it off. Let me go ahead and grab this piece right here. So I'm going to remove this. And then what I'm going to do is I'll remove these pickup tubes right here for the oil pump. And then just looks like these fasteners right here, maybe right here. Then I can remove this. And then I'll get this windage tray off. And then we should be able to get a really good look and see how the parts of the crankshaft at least, and then the connecting rods in the bottom half of the pistons, we can take a look at it and see what it looks like. So let me do all that. It'll probably take a little while to get this all cleaned up here, and then I'll be back and show you what it looks like. All right, so I got those parts removed. So the first one was this oil line here. You had that little cover on the outside of that oil line. Remove that. 17 millimeter hex drive. Once I removed that, it allowed me to get the 17 millimeter hex drive inside and remove that fitting, which actually holds on the oil line. Let me show you that real quick, just in case you want to see that. And that's this piece here, and that held the line onto the block. So remove this, and then of course when I did that, oil and water came splashing out everywhere. And then, but I already got it wiped up. It's clean now. And then that was out of the way. Then the next thing I needed to do was remove this oil pump pickup that was right here. So 10 millimeter bolt that goes and bolts to this main bearing cap. All right, got that out of the way. Then you had these 17 millimeter nuts, okay? Remove those. There was washers on there also. And then remove those. I had to use a wrench on these two back sides here because it was kind of, part of that pickup was kind of covering it up a little bit. So I removed all those. And then the windage tray was hanging down over a part of it, so I couldn't pull it out, so I had to kind of push that down and pull it out, okay? So then that piece was out. Then the windage tray, there was a 10 millimeter nut right here. And then these 10 millimeter nuts right here, of course I couldn't remove those, so I was kind of using a screwdriver to carefully pull it up, but they all just broke loose and the whole thing just came out. So I'm still going to have to remove these fasteners to get the plastic and stuff out here before we start cleaning the block, okay? But anyway, that's out of the way, and it actually looks very good actually inside, especially after having so much water in here and some oil. But it was mostly, I'd say there was probably close to a gallon of water in here. I mean, I could be exaggerating a little bit, but it was a lot of water that came pouring out. And but yeah, I'm actually surprised it's not more rusted than what it is. So yeah, it looks really good. I'm happy about that. Okay, so the next thing I need to do now is I need to get this oil pump out, but I need to relieve the tension on this oil pump chain right here. All right, so here's the tensioner that's right here. So I need to remove this. It's damaged. Parts of this are damaged. You see it's already melted right here, but I need to remove this to get the tension off the chain. Okay, and then once I remove that, I need to remove 4 fasteners right here. All right, 1, 2, 3, 4, and this thing should just come right on out, okay? So that's what I'm going to do now. Let me remove this tensioner here and the oil pump, and then that way it'll give us a better look in here, and I'll be back. All right, so I got the oil pump out, and this is what it looks like here. Okay. Looks really, really good. You can see that in there. Looks really nice. Okay. And you can see right here, there's a piece that goes inside here. There's 2, look like 10 millimeter fasteners here that holds it in there. It's all, of course, it's gone. It's melted. That's what was pulled up in the front of the sump pan when I showed you it when it was on the ground. So we need to source that out, get that replaced. Here's the chain, of course. Just lay it off to the side here. All right, let's go to the oil pump. So to get this off here, okay, I need to get the tension off of the chain, right? But what you're going to have to do first is you need to remove these 4 fasteners here, okay? It's a 6 millimeter hex drive. These two, the body of it kind of sticks out a little bit of the pump, so it's gonna go in at an angle. Now you're gonna need it. You see, there's a cutout right here. You're gonna need a long shank 6 millimeter hex drive. If you only have a shorter one, you're gonna need one with like a ball on the end so it pivots, because it's gonna hit against here. If you have anything that's got like a base on it, you know, where it's like an extension clips onto. Okay, so make sure you have a long shank 6 millimeter hex drive. Okay, get these 2. And then once you get this loose, you can kind of pick it up a little bit and kind of slide it this way. You won't be able to take it off because there's tension still on the chain. Then you got this tensioner here. This is what you need to remove to get the chain off. You have a 10 millimeter fastener here. It's got 2 washers on it. Okay, remove that first. And then on here, there's like this wrench. It's a 6 millimeter 12 point box end right here. Let me see if I can get that. It fits on here super nice. Let's see if I can get, okay, I got my hand on. So this piece is, see, it's not really a bolt. It's got like 2 sides onto it, see? But this, I don't have a wrench that small. It fits on there. This is the smallest one I got. 6 millimeter, and it's way too loose on here. Kind of flops around. And then what I use is the box end, the 12 point, and that just fits like a glove on there, okay? And I use that. See, slides on perfect. And then just go ahead and loosen it, take it off, loosen it. Then what's going to happen is it's going to push out. It's going to, when you start loosening it up, it's going to push out and hit the oil pump like this. So that's why you got to pick this up, move it back a little bit, and I'll give you a little bit of a gap, and then you can start loosening up again. It'll push this way, then it'll just come off, and then you take it out, and then pull your chain off, pull this at an angle, pull your chain off, and then take it out, okay? And that is it. Super easy. All right, so probably what I'll do now is I need to remove the front casing off this engine here, but I can't get it off. There's two special fasteners that are holding these timing belt pulleys on here, and this will come off in 2 seconds, but I need to get these two pulleys off, but I don't have that special tool. I'm going to have to order it to get those two nuts off, okay? So in the meantime, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and start knocking these pistons. Go ahead and push these out. I'll go ahead and loosen up the rod bolts here, and then pull the caps off, and then I could use like a piece of wood or something, and then nothing with metal or anything like that. I don't want to tap on it with that. It's got to be something like plastic or wood or something, and then stick it down here and try to push these pistons out, and then pop them out here. It's got to make sure they got to stay in order. So as they come out. Of course, this video right here is going to help it out too. So, and they've got markings on all the rods and stuff. I'll go over that later, tell you more about the pistons and stuff, and all that good stuff. And so that's what I'm going to do now. I'm going to start taking these rod bolts out of all these connecting rods here, and remove the caps, and start pushing out the pistons one by one. Hopefully they should come out with ease. And then once I get those out, I'll be back. And yep, that's it. So I'll be back. All right, guys, I'm back. And yeah, what happened? Everything's gone. So actually, I filmed several segments. You know, in between, you know, I was getting ready to take the pistons and rods out. And then here, we basically got it all stripped out. Yeah, those segments, once I got it all filmed and everything, I went to put it together, and I noticed that a lot of those segments, they had no sound. So I guess I screwed something up somewhere. So no big deal. I'll just come back, and I had everything cleaned up. But we'll just do an overview real quick what I did. So let's start with the pistons and rods. So what I did was, I think, another thing too is when I was looking back at the video, I caught it. I was rambling on, and I was talking about the rod bearing caps, and I noticed that I mentioned something about taking all the caps off. And no, you don't want to take all the caps off at once. And then as you're pushing the pistons out, you need to rotate the crank, and then because you could damage the journals, with the rods banging around and stuff like that. So no, don't do that. Just do one at a time. Don't take the caps off until you're ready to push it out. So. But what I did do is, if you notice, this is the driver's side of the engine right here. I had these two pistons right here were basically pretty much at top dead center, and these two pistons were here at the lowest point in the cylinders. At that orientation, I was able to break loose and not remove, just break loose, all the rod bolt fasteners, and then got those all broke loose, and then I went back and started. I could, take my hand and take them all out, and then take the caps off, and then do one at a time, push them out. Okay. On the caps, just like I always do with any engine, once I get the fasteners out, I put my finger on one side of it, and then kind of put pressure and push up, and then tap the other side with a hammer, and then let it come up evenly, and it comes out. And then have the journal first before I do that. The journal, whatever cylinders I'm working on, at their highest point, coming up this way, so it gives me a lot of room when I get ready to shove that piston and rod through. I got a lot of space between the crank itself and down here in the block to kind of work a tool down to push it down. Okay, and that was it. Pull the cap off, push it down as far as I can, and then I used actually the handle of my dead blow hammer, which is all encased in plastic, and just tap the rod, and then just push the piston on out. Okay. And it was that simple. And then also what I did was I took an old towel, and I kind of put it over these studs here, and then draped it down, around the engine. This way it kind of hung down and then come up, and then I had it hooked on these studs over here. And then these studs, whatever cylinder that you're working on, you want to put rubber hoses on these studs so the piston, just in case it comes out, doesn't get contact and scratch the piston or damage the rings or whatever. And then you can put it on all of them at one time, or you just move them when you go to whatever cylinder you're moving at, these rubber hoses to protect this here. So yeah, when I was pushing the pistons out, What it does is if I can't catch it, because I've had a couple slip out of my hands, because sometimes you have to use a little bit of kind of pushing power to push it out. It would pop out, and then actually if I missed it, it would come down the towel and just slide down and just stop in the bottom, almost like a hammock, and then I would just reach through here and go and grab it out and set it aside. So in case it will come out and I miss it and it hits a concrete and damage a piston or something like that. So I did that. And then after I had all the pistons and rods out, I went ahead and reassembled, put the caps back on, exactly where they go at, where they were connecting the rod. I took them off of, put the fasteners back, and then I kept these in the same orientation as when they came out. All right, so those are all there. They look fantastic. The next thing I did, I had to take this cover off the front part of the engine here, which goes right here, and you can see the bearings are kind of, well, they ain't kind of, they're destroyed, so they're seized up. So I'll probably maybe try to replace those. If not, it's no big deal. I'll just leave them in there, and we'll just spray some oil around there, and because it's not going to be running again. This is going to be for display, so I could just leave those in there. I just need something to hold the shafts of those gears that go in there. I just need something there just to hold them in place. Let me see what else. Oh, so the cover, basically what I did was I took those fasteners off, 13 millimeter fasteners there, and then like I said, I didn't have that special tool. So and then like I said, I thought it looked like it had like a slide hammer on it, where you kind of bring it back and bang it, and it would pull this forward. But the only thing is, so I didn't have that. So what I did was, when I took the fasteners out, I started tapping on this side, getting this pulled away from the engine block. It would slide until these two gears would come in contact with this gear here, which is mounted on the crankshaft. Okay, and of course the chain is on this gear and still on the oil pump. Okay, but I already took that off because I took that tensioner off. So basically it was laying to the side here. So once it came in contact with this gear and chain, it would stop. So I was thinking, I said, if they had that tool there, maybe as that slide hammer went back, maybe it pulled this gear off of the crank. So I said, I don't know. I've never taken one of these off before. So I just took a big flathead screwdriver, actually put it right below the chain on the gear right here, and just very carefully tapped it with a hammer, and actually this moved with not much force at all. So I don't know if it's just because of this engine. I don't know. But it was very easy just to tap it, and it would slide. This gear would slide forward with the chain on it and come in contact with the cover right here and stop. Then it created a gap between this gear and chain and these two gears here. Then I could tap this housing again and bring this whole assembly forward until it hit the gear again in the chain. Then I would have to tap the gear and chain again with the gear, and then slide it forward until it hit the case, and just keep repeating that over and over. And slowly but surely it was working its way off, and then it would come to the end of the crank. And then at the end, I kept the crank pulley bolt on and the big giant washer to keep this thing from falling off and hitting the concrete and getting damaged. Okay, and that was it. Once it got to the end, took the fastener off, washer, pulled it off, and it was done. Okay, and also that tensioner, when I took it off, there is I guess there's a way to adjust the tension, and I'm assuming so you can take the slack out of it, but maybe even to get the chain off the gear. But you can see it was all melted, and the adjuster assembly was destroyed, so I had to just completely remove it. And then also this piece here that's gone, it looks like it's some kind of chain guide or something, but of course it's gone, so I'm going to have to source that out. Maybe not, we'll see. And that's it for that. And let's go back to this oil pump just real quick. I don't know if you caught it, but if you notice, when I took the pump off, there was two O-rings. There was one here and there was one here. But if you look closely, there was also like a spacer that was right here. Let me grab that real quick. Okay, and here it is. Okay, and so this is the way it was in the block right here. This darker side was facing up. But if you look at the other side, see how it's kind of shiny here, but also if you notice, the wall thickness is thicker. So here you got that side, and then you got this side. So it looks like as as you look down in here, the wall, it kind of starts to get, the diameter of the hole starts to get smaller. Can you see it? So there's a difference there. So if you look back when I first took the oil pump off, like I said, this dark side was up, so it goes right here. So this is the way that it came out of the block right here. So you want that thicker side of the wall thickness down into the engine block and the thinner side facing up, okay? And then your O-ring goes on top like that. And that's it, okay. Just thought I'd mention that just in case, because, you know, somebody might miss it, even me, I could miss that very easily. And then, you know, flipping the block around or cleaning it, it could fly off and not even know it's supposed to be there. And then me just set an O-ring on there and to be done with it. Okay? And there could be some potential issues later with oil pressure. You just never know. Okay, so that's done there. Crankshaft. Main bearing caps. It was just like the cylinder head. Went to take loose these fasteners, completely loose, all the way up here. Then as I got to this side, these two still had somewhat tension on it. And then, as like I said, back here, nothing at all. Just like the cylinder head. You can tell where the heat had come through the block. And then as it came through, then the tension on these fasteners would just diminish. And then, but like I said, these still had somewhat tension on it. I mean, but not up to full torque, but there was still some there, okay? But anyway, the main bearing caps, they're really easy to get off. If you start just tapping on it, at least with this engine block here, I had, it would start to rock back and forth, but it wouldn't come up at all. So let's say, for example, this one here, what I had to do is there's like two dimples on each side of the main bearing cap. What I would do is take a big screwdriver, flathead, use this, let's say, for example, this stud right here, I would use it as a fulcrum, put the screwdriver here, put it into that little dimple there, the main bearing cap, and just put a little bit of, rock it up, put a little bit of tension on it as I tapped on each side with a hammer, and then as I did that, it slowly came up and came off, okay? So that was really easy to do it that way all the way down here. And then, of course, you know, you got your thicker, this rear main cap right here, bearing cap. It was a little bit tougher to get off, you know, of course, because it's a lot thicker, so there's a lot more friction to overcome. But same thing, easy. It was easy to just put the screwdriver here, use this stud as a fulcrum, put it in that little divot on the cap, and put a little bit of tension on it and tapped on it, and then it came up. Okay, so super easy about that. So now the block is pretty much done. So all I need to do now is I'm going to probably spray some simple green on it, let it soak. I'll take it outside, pressure wash it, and then I'll have to clean off this gasket material off here and on the back side of the block. And then I'll probably go ahead and pull these plugs out of these oil galleys here. There's several around the block. Pull those and then spray some high pressured water, some simple green in there, kind of clean that up. I'll reinstall those, and then once that's done, I'll vapor hone it, and fingers crossed that it comes out really clean. And then after I do that, I'll come back, pressure wash it again, remove these plugs again, clean them out, clean some of that slurry that'll probably get in there, and then reinstall the plugs, and that should be it. And then we should be ready to start putting parts back on it. And as we put parts on the block, if they're dirty, then I'll clean them as we go, as we start building the engine to get it back to we'll have a really nice display in the garage, okay? And I think that's it. And then the crank itself, I'll put a picture of, well, you see the picture I put of the towel draped around the block. You can see the crank. The rod bearing journals look, I mean, spot on, perfect. They look really, really good. The main bearing journals were just really dark with burnt oil. And then just like these main bearings right here, they're just really dark with burnt oil. I'm sure if I probably cleaned that up, they'd look a lot better, but that's the way the crank was. I didn't wipe any of the oil off or try to clean it. I just left it oily. That way I'll protect it from rusting until I get ready to put it back in, and just wrapped it in plastic to protect it, okay? And that's going to be it. So I think that's going to be it for this segment right here. And then in the next video, we'll start to get into cleaning, and hopefully after that, start putting it together again, okay? So anyway, guys, hope you enjoyed the video. Be safe, and we'll see you in the next one. Have a good day.